Once upon a time, in a quiet valley of West Virginia, two men named Jack Goldberg and Adam Silverton each bought a piece of land. Though they had never met before, their properties shared a boundary, and at the very center stood an old but sturdy cabin. Jack and Adam both had the same dream: to settle down, to start a family, and work the land. They each married, built their homes, and watched their children grow. But as their families expanded, so did their need for space. Their cabin, sitting squarely on the border, became a point of contention. Each man believed the cabin should belong to him. Jack argued it was closer to his best grazing fields. Adam insisted it was better suited for his growing storage needs. At first, they tried to be civil, but resentment grew. A cold rivalry set in. Their sons, once playmates, began to mimic their father's bitterness. They quarreled over who had the right to use the cabin, until one day, their fighting turned violent. Adam's son, Jackson, was badly injured. From that moment on, the two families became bitter enemies. The feud escalated over the years. Harsh words became threats, threats became brawls, and brawls turned into bloodshed. More family members were drawn into the conflict. The cabin, once a simple wooden structure, became a symbol of their hatred for one another. On Jackson's 19th birthday, terrible tragedy struck. A fight turned deadly, and Adam's eldest son was killed. Grief and vengeance consumed both families. Their dispute over the cabin transformed into an all-out war. They gathered their allies, wielded knives and guns, and battled without end. The valley became a battleground soaked in sorrow, all because of a claim to a cabin neither man had built. Then, one fateful winter night, a blizzard swept through the valley. Both families clashed in the freezing snow. The battle was brutal. By dawn, nearly everyone lay dead or too wounded to fight. The only two left standing were Jack and Adam. Then the fire started. First, Adam's house caught flame. The wind carried the embers to Jack's barn, then his home. The inferno spread without mercy, consuming everything in its path. As the two men stood watching their life's work turn to ash, the cruel truth settled in. Their land was ruined, their families were nearly gone, and the cabin, their precious cabin, was nothing more than cinders in the snow. With nowhere to go and the storm still raging, Jack and Adam had only each other. Huddling together for warmth, they stripped off their pride, their grudges, and their illusions. Side by side, they held on through the long frozen night. In the silence, they finally understood. The cabin had never mattered. Their hatred had cost them everything. The moral of the story: we humans often lose sight of what is truly important. We chased after possessions, power, and pride, forgetting that in the end, none of it will matter. What will matter is our choices, our ability to love, to forgive, and to see beyond material illusions. Do the math. Spirituality does matter. 10 minus 8 leaves 2. Your choices are of utmost importance.